Hey,
I think I have
Why don't
been.
you kick off Blue Monday?
Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores brings you what we're calling Garage Logic Podcast number 999.
Wow.
January 16th, 2023. 46 degrees was the record high on this day. That was in 1961. It was 29 below in 1888. And on this day,
January 16th.
in 1887, there was a foot of snow fell.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Heidt in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Souchere.
According to an emailer, Jay, he reviewed the GL podcast archive. You'll recall this email from late last week. And he said, you're off by 2.
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
And that made the January 12th podcast, which was last Thursday, announced as number 998, the 1000th. As mentioned on the January 9 podcast, both of the shows for 12/9/2022 and 12/12/22 were announced as 978. That same thing happened for the shows of 5/8/2020 and 5/11/2020, both announced as 380. So he straightened us out, and from his email, I took that January 12th was the 1000th show. And then January 13th was 101. Today would be 102. And tomorrow, when we celebrate with great festivity in Hopkins, the 1000th podcast would really be 1003. But I've adjusted, and we're calling today 999. Now, I got another email from Brian from Faribault who said, didn't you just go in the wrong direction? I thought the emailer said Thursday, Jan 12 was the 1000th episode, but Joe went the opposite direction. So now he's 4 episodes off. No, Brian, I didn't go in the wrong direction. You're trying to confuse us. Here's what we're going to do.
What are we going to do, Joe?
Here's what we're going to do.
Okay.
We're going to play along like the dummies we are. Today we're going to call 999. Tomorrow we're going to call 1000. But on Tuesday...
No, Wednesday.
No, Tuesday. Tuesday we're going to call 1000.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow we're going to call 1003.
Wait, what?
No, tomorrow we're going to call 1000.
Tomorrow's Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yep.
And then what day is January 17th?
That's tomorrow.
That's going to be the 1000th. But on Wednesday the 18th, it'll be GL podcast number 1004.
We don't know.
And that'll
that.
bring us up to speed. That'll bring us up to date.
This must be what it was like working with Sid towards the end.
Towards the end.
Wow.
Where's the party?
Well, the party's at the Hopkins Performing Arts Center, Sid, tomorrow. It's going to be great.
So here you have it. We're calling tomorrow 1000, but Wednesday will be 1004.
Hello?
I am moving, so the hell with all of you people. I'm moving to Wyoming.
Really?
I have suddenly decided that I must live in Wyoming for a couple of reasons.
A specific city, area? What are you thinking?
I'm going to just get a little house somewhere on a dusty road and just live by myself and
you're going alone, are you?
have a stack of firewood outside.
There's a lot of dusty roads in Wyoming.
I
Is this
know.
voluntary
I've
or are
been
you
to
being...
Wyoming. No. Booming oil and gas revenues has put Wyoming back among the states with big budget surpluses. But Republican Governor Mark Gordon cautioned lawmakers last week to save, not splurge, out of concern that tough times will eventually return. As a Wyoming rancher, and I want a governor who was a rancher.
Yeah.
As a Wyoming rancher, I know the value of a good hay year. because they do not always come around. It is important that we make hay when the conditions are right.
Okay.
Sometimes we say, let's make hay while the sun shines. Right?
Yeah.
It is important that we make hay when the conditions are right. Gordon told a joint session of the Wyoming legislature in his annual State of the State speech. He often sprinkles his speeches with cowboy references. When Wyoming a year ago was still clawing back from a deficit that threatened to top $1 billion, he compared the state's struggles with low oil prices and the COVID-19 pandemic to a hard cattle drive. Now Wyoming is looking at a surplus approaching $1 billion thanks to higher energy prices. Wyoming is a leading producer of oil and gas and the top U.S. producer of coal, an industry with fewer gyrations, but in steady decline nonetheless. So, the biggest state, California, has turned its surplus into a deficit, but the least populated state, Wyoming, joins several now flush. I'm going to Wyoming. That's one reason I'm going to Wyoming. I can tell you another reason as soon as I find it. A number of emailers, Kelsey and others, wanted me to learn that Wyoming is going to phase out sales of new electric vehicles by 2035.
Really?
You'll note most states are commanding that you must purchase a government car by 2035. Not my new state, not Wyoming, not where I live on a dusty dirt road in a little wood house with firewood stacked up alongside it.
Pot-bellied stove.
While jurisdictions like California and New York move forward banning, this is a ray of hope for this country. While jurisdictions like California and New York move toward banning the sale of new gasoline-powered cars, Colorado is going in the opposite direction.
Okay.
Wyoming's legislature is considering a resolution that calls for a phase-out of new electric vehicles by 2035. Introduced just this past Friday, Senate Joint Resolution 4 has support from members of the state's House of Representatives and Senate. In the proposed resolution, a group of lawmakers led by Senator Jim Anderson said Wyoming's proud and valued oil and gas industry has created countless jobs and contributed revenue to the state's coffers.
Countless.
They add that a lack of charging infrastructure within Wyoming would make the widespread use of EVs impracticable and that the state would need to build massive amounts of new power generation, oh, and I love this line, to sustain the misadventure of electric cars. Thank you, Wyoming. Senate Bill 14 calls for residents and businesses to limit the sale and purchase of EVs voluntarily with the goal of phasing them out entirely by 2035. If passed, the resolution would be entirely symbolic. In fact, it's more about sending a message to EV advocates than banning the vehicles altogether.
I was going to drop that on you like a ton of bricks, but you already knew it.
To that point, the final section of the bill calls for Wyoming's Secretary of State to send President Biden and California Governor Gavin Newsom copies of the resolution.
Ha!
But you know what, though? I'm moving there. I want to go there. I want to live in Wyoming.
Will you come and visit?
Here's my responsible opposing viewpoint.
All right.
I don't want to live in any state in these United States.
Where I'm a resident.
These United States of America, where the government tells you what and what not to drive. If I want to drive an EV, screw you. I'm driving an EV. It just so happens I hate them, so I won't. But if I want to drive a 1-ton diesel, I will. If I want to drive a crap can from 1965, I will.
A moped.
If it's got 100,000, 800,000, I don't care what it is. I want to drive it and not have the government tell me I'm doing evil or I'm doing good.
Did you hear what I just read?
I did, and
They're
it's
doing
not.
it as they're
it's
doing
not
it with
a
an
law.
elbow in the ribs.
Right. It's not a law. It's
Right.
just they're kind of encouraging people. Right.
Well, the resolution has the markings of a political stunt,
Yeah.
but it does allude to genuine economic anxiety. Wyoming produced 85.43 million barrels of oil in 2021, making it the country's 8th largest crude oil producer that year. The state's Carbon County is also home to one of the biggest wind farms in the U.S.
Oh,
So they got it all going.
Okay.
Something that's not talked about enough when it comes to climate change is how the world transitions to a zero-emissions economy in an equitable way. Okay, Wyoming has not lost my interest. I don't think they're going to tell me what to drive, but they're on my wavelength.
yeah, they are. But where would EVs be popular? The big cities. What are the big cities in Wyoming? I don't know. Sheridan's kind of big. Casper's kind of big. Cheyenne's kind of big. Other than that, I mean, I suppose you could drive them in Jackson, but Jackson's not big. But that's where all the liberals.
That's where the money is.
That's where all the liberal money
Well,
goes.
just forget it. They're minding their P's and Q's with their surplus. They're frowning upon EVs because it challenges their livelihood. I'm moving to Wyoming.
I picked out the town years ago where I'm
town?
going. Riverton. Yeah.
Don't know that.
It's on the
Downstate?
mid-state.
Oh, he's letting us in, isn't he?
Is there lakes in Wyoming?
Well, there's a few.
I'll go on a lake in Wyoming.
There's a lot of mountains.
I'm gonna have a dock, old wood boat, and the smoke will be curling from my chimney.
Look at that, huh?
Where I've always wanted to live, when you drive the interstate through both Wyoming and Montana, you see those exits that say ranch exit only.
Yep.
And it's just a gravel road that goes over the hills off
what does
into
that
the
mean?
yonder. It means somebody's got a ranch, 10 miles off the
It means
freeway.
keep driving, mind your own business.
That's their exit. Wow. That's how they get home.
When Kenny says he's going to mind your own businessville, that's his
That's
exit.
they're living it.
Yeah.
This is known, and only this country would come up with such nonsense. This day is known as Blue Monday in the United States.
Blue Monday.
And you have to have a study to demonstrate this.
Okay.
Studies show that it's
Why are we blue?
the most depressing day of the year happens to be this Monday in January. Is the MLK Monday always the same Monday in January?
Isn't it the third Monday?
Yeah.
Because it seems uncharitable to call Martin Luther King Day the most depressing day of the year.
Yeah, the third Monday of the month.
Well, the third Monday of the month is Blue Monday.
Well, that's kind
It's just when people
unfortunate for
feel-
Maybe that's why they decided to make it a federal holiday. Give people the day off to, deal with their
well,
depression.
aren't we supposed to honor Dr.
I
King?
have no idea. Yeah, sure.
You know what bothers me about Martin Luther King Day? All the Mysterians, they have breakfasts. There's breakfasts on Martin Luther King Day. I like dinners.
You don't like a nice breakfast?
Nah, the Mysterians and the foot soldiers of the mystery get together.
you're right.
and
You're
together
right.
Have breakfast.
They do.
They get cold eggs and stuff. I don't like it.
John, what meal do we enjoy around 5, 6 p.m.? It's not dinner.
No, it's supper.
It's supper.
I don't understand that.
What's for supper?
Yeah, supper. We're
Damn
supper
right.
guys.
In Wyoming, we call it supper.
Where's Ma?
Yep.
Ma's in Wyoming.
Have her cook some supper.
Dinner, it comes at 12 noon.
Dinner in Wyoming, we don't have dinner. We have supper. I'm living in Wyoming now in my mind.
You can have a gas stove?
Oh, God, yes. And let me say something about that. I was too easy the other day on the lefties. I said, this will never happen.
The gas stove
Banning
thing.
gas
Right,
stoves
right.
will never happen.
I don't think it will.
And I did. Craig wanted me to know about a Wall Street Journal editorial over the weekend, and yes, I read it. I've given the media too much respect. They're backpedaling for the progressives. They're saying, don't worry about it. Your gas stove won't be banned. No, they're coming for your gas stove. But what they put out in public is, because remember, it was a trial balloon. Then the progressives take over, and they'll play along for a while and say, nah, we're not really going to. But they want to. They want to tell you everything. They want to tell you how to cook, when you can cook, how you can cook. And it's just a crying shame, because if you look at it that way, if they really think a gas stove is problematic, and it is not, well, then what about your furnace? Mm-hmm. That's got a pilot light and the whole deal.
Well, we can't go back to wood heat.
They don't want us to be warm.
What about fuel oil?
Yeah, what about it? It's pollutant.
I like fuel oil.
I do too.
So the only other option is to burn wood, and that's bad for the environment.
They're controlling that too.
Desayuno.
We
is
live in
Spanish
an
for
age where
breakfast.
we're losing rights on a daily basis, where they're taking away something we've had for years and years and years.
Which rests the case of the Wall Street Journal editorial. Because you cannot technically say today we've lost the right to use a gas stove, but it's coming.
Yeah. And it's the same way with cars.
The damn EVs, God bless you if you own one, that's fine with me, but they're government mandated. I don't want a government car.
There was a thread over the weekend that I was reading, and it was from the inner workings of a guy that's spent his entire life mining and saying how this push for EVs is going to single-handedly destroy the earth.
Well,
I'm trying to find it
it's
for
a
you.
dreadful mining procedure.
Right.
And I instructed two young guys who were in my house over the weekend who were, they're kind of car freaks. And I told them, guys your age are the ones having to go down in the mines and dig up the cobalt and what have you. And that got them thinking a bit.
Yeah.
They're not the answer, people. They might be someday, but I don't even see that, to tell you the truth. Automobile manufacturers, you've caved. You're a tremendous disappointment. The ads keep getting more and more fantastic for electric vehicles, more highly produced, and make it look like it's just fun. How are you charging your electric vehicle in the floodwaters of California this past weekend, I wonder?
Okay, what happens to a regular car? You get that distributor wet, she's shutting down, right? I mean, you got issues with water, but that's repairable,
And
right?
the whole engine fills up with water.
And then you just got to flush it out.
Well, the key there is don't be a euphorian and drive through a flood.
True.
There's this woman who had the electric minivan across the street from the snowblower friend of ours who emailed us a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's going to drive through floodwater.
Yes, she is.
There's not a doubt in my mind.
Yes, she is.
She's just not in touch with anything
I
except
encountered
her own sense of virtue.
I met her on the freeway coming
they're
down
all
this
over.
morning
Yeah.
between Rogers and
They're all over.
Maple Grove. She was doing 40 in the center lane while everybody else was doing 70.
That's right. So, gas stove, if you got them, hang on.
One thing you might have left out about your new state, Wyoming does not have an individual income tax. They do not have a corporate income tax. They have a 4% state sales tax, a max local sales tax of 2%, and an average combined state and local sales tax rate of 5.22%.
And I know that from when I go to the tack store. Because I know what a tack is.
Did I
Tack
say
is the
tack?
stuff you need for
Did
your
I say
horses.
tack?
No, I'm saying tack.
Saddle and
Yeah, it's a
reins
saddle store and bits and reins and
hoops
leather
and
straps and
loops
stuff. And I hang out at the tack store in my town.
handcuffs and ball gags.
Right.
I'm going to live in
Joe-
Garage Logic, Wyoming.
You've been watching Yellowstone, Joe?
No, I
what's
have
going
not.
on here?
I have not. And it's unlikely I'd wear a cowboy hat when I live in Wyoming.
Huh.
But I'm going to move to Wyoming because I can't take it here anymore. We have an $18 billion surplus, and some fourth grade teacher who's the governor is going to spend it all on you. It's beyond the pale. I have something to cheer up Kenny.
Okay, let's get to it. You talked about that before.
Good luck. It's Blue Monday.
It's Blue Monday.
I am blue.
Well, I have a study.
Every
got the
Monday's Blue
blues.
Monday for Kenny.
Got the blues.
I have a study because you have to have studies.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the next time you need to proofread a sensitive document or a friend asks you to look over an important email, it may be a good idea to reflect on a few things in life that make you angry. Sounds like an odd strategy, but fascinating new findings from the University of Arizona. It's a study. I believe John even had it in his news.
Yep.
It's a study that found that when we're in a bad mood, we tend to identify literary or written inconsistencies in a faster manner. These findings, which build on prior studies investigating how the brain processes language, came via Vicki Lai, an assistant professor of psychology and cognitive science at that failed academy known as the University of Arizona. The research team originally set out to analyze and better understand how people's brains react to language when they are in a happy mood as opposed to being in a negative mood. And when they're in a negative mood, they're more efficient and get things done more quickly.
I don't like being negative, and I don't like being angry.
Mood matters.
Why do you sons of bitches always try to make me angry? Why can't you just be nice to me? It really makes me. This really irritates
You're
me.
blue today.
A more specific example, the study authors showed participants a story focusing on driving at night that ended with the critical sentence, "With the lights on, you can see more." Another story centered on stargazing had a similar critical sentence reading, "With the lights on, you can see less." While that statement is indeed accurate when it comes to staring at the night sky, the general notion that turning on a set of lights results in less visibility is a much less familiar concept that defies default knowledge. I'm sorry I read that paragraph because it means nothing. I had a guy, I have a car being worked on, and he said, "What about the headlights? Should we replace them with modern bright headlights?" I said, "No, I don't drive at night." So there you are. So grumpiness results in more efficiency.
There's a long, long, long period of my working relationship with Matthew the Rookie Mikulski where on a daily basis he did everything in his power to make me angry. And
he does that by being here.
Yes.
And then I finally realized he's just being Matt.
That's
and he's
right.
not trying to make me angry.
No, not at all.
Because this is just how he is. And I realized, Matthew, you really, really make me angry a lot.
He's the rook.
Almost every day.
Almost every day.
And when I realized that, I realized
Look for your spot.
he's okay.
Yeah.
He's just being him.
I'm
He's
not
not.
trying to-
He's not trying to.
No,
make
he
people-
doesn't come in and consciously try to
He's
upset.
not.
Well, a couple
he's-
times,
Joe,
yeah, I've been guilty of
He's
that.
not acting dumb.
No.
He is dumb.
Yeah.
That's me. You're
I-
You know
describing
what you're
your
getting
team.
then with you? Total honesty.
Total honesty.
Let me
Maybe
let
not.
me jump in here.
Go ahead, John. Pile on.
Rook tried to make me angry yesterday. We traded some messages about various things, and he ended with, "When are the Packers playing today?" So I think he was trying to make me angry at
You
that
didn't
point.
respond to my email, by the way.
Text.
My text, but you don't have to do it on the air. Take a break.
Oh,
Hey, GLers, it's Reavers here, and you've heard me talk about my relationship with Josh Arnold for quite some time now. And the reason I advocate that you give Josh a call is simple. Well, actually, it's two reasons: trust and results. Josh has seen it all when it comes to economic and market conditions. As he says, past results do not guarantee future returns. Well, that is true. Josh can make sure that your retirement objectives match your investments. And you can trust Josh to make sure that you are not paying more in fees than you are selling in returns. Yes, that is more common than you would think. So do yourself a favor by booking a 48-minute free consultation that has absolutely no obligation. Call Josh today at 952-925-5608. That number once again is 952-925-5608. You will be glad you did.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Chris Reavers is a paid endorser. Oh, here we go.
He's got slow hands with the lighters.
I have the thing.
Here's Joe Souchere. Pretty good, huh? Me and Ben, Patrick Johnson.
Are you done making me mad?
Yep.
The winter whiteout sale rages on at Maple Grove Lock and Safe. He's making sure it'll be a white January for all of us. That's with a big sale on the Centurion, the USA, and the Colonial safes, all from Liberty Safes. How much? Well, I'm going to tell you in a second. They're made in the USA, these Liberty Safes. They're the best. Transferable lifetime warranty. Best fire protection in the business. And Rich can set you up with professional delivery and installation. Okay, the numbers. $300 on the Centurion 24. That's what you save. You keep that in your pocket. Save $329 on the USA 36. But I think we all agree buying the Colonial 50 and saving $795 is the way to go with the winter whiteout sale. All the safes mentioned here, obviously white gloss. Get it? White? Winter sale?
Got it. I get it.
Gloss.
White.
Anyway, Rich, he's the man up there, Maple Grove Lock and Safe, 6901 East Fish Lake Road. Save $795. Check it all out at maplegrovelockandsafe.com.
I got to get a safe because my stash has been discovered.
Oh, no.
Yep, and it's down. I can tell it's down.
Oh.
Yeah, I need a safe.
Ooh.
Are you guys aware?
I carry all my cash in the one place she doesn't go, Joe.
I don't even want to know.
The moolah's in the coolah.
Joe, right here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you something. Have you seen that? It was an Alpha News bit. It won't be in the Star Tribune or the Pioneer Press, where a guy was confronted at the Mall of America and made to remove his Jesus Saves T-shirt.
No, this can't be real.
What?
This is not a real story.
It really is.
It's real. And Scott from Inver Grove, who's never afraid and always pushing back, writes, check out the Alpha News story and video about the guy wearing a Jesus Saves T-shirt at the Mall of America. Anecdotally, I've often been offended by the thugs and gangsters prowling the mall for years, but yet they continue to prowl the mall, so I simply don't shop at that gangster playground anymore. Boy, he has some harsh views there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
In our quickly deteriorating state, soliciting is now construed as wearing a T-shirt with a statement that someone doesn't like. Furthermore, I can bet you $1 that if a Muslim wearing a Muhammad is the way T-shirt would have been left alone for fear of stirring the woke zealots who are infesting our society and destroying our once great country. Yes, it is private property with policies about soliciting in the mall, but this policy does not pertain to Jesus Saves T-shirts. I wonder if the complaint came from the Hamlin University fool who got a teacher fired for showing the class a depiction of Muhammad, even though they were given advance notice about it. A great pushback would be to gather up a congregation of churchgoers, hand out Jesus Saves T-shirts, and flood the Mall of America with these dangerous Christians wearing the shirts as they shopped. Would the Bloomington police be called? I, for one, am deeply troubled by these types of ever-increasing attempts to squash our First Amendment rights, and so should everyone else who loves what used to be the greatest country on God's green earth. Scott from Inver Grove. Why can't you wear a Jesus Saves T-shirt?
I don't know.
So a mall cop here, a squirrel chaser,
Yeah.
is telling him to remove his T-shirt. He's a black dude.
Yeah, I don't understand what the problem is.
The yellow Jesus Saves T-shirt is.
I probably wouldn't wear one to the mall, but I don't care if you do.
Oh, I definitely will now.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
You can't, no, not in this country. No.
Well, why did that make the guy dangerous, I wonder?
The mall doesn't have a leg to stand on, do they?
Okay, but isn't that the ultimate profiling? Because you have some religious
Was a black
saying-
guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the back it says, Jesus is the only way. Coexist.
Okay. That wouldn't have bothered me had I been
Oh,
in the
no.
mall.
Coexist is crossed out. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Well, maybe this is what we have to do to prevent people from getting shot at malls.
Maybe.
Jesus is associated with religion and it's offending people, as security guard tells the man in one clip, adding that people have been offended.
Honest to God. Isn't that something?
I would, oh my
You would
goodness.
just walk by that person and be done with it. Why
Yeah,
would you
exactly.
hold that?
He didn't say, the guy says, I didn't say anything, though. I didn't speak. I didn't say anything. I just went to Macy's.
Well,
How can this happen in this country?
it doesn't happen in my state.
Have you been paying attention?
In Wyoming, it doesn't happen. In fact,
I would
my
get
neighbor wears a Jesus Saves T-shirt in Wyoming.
Seriously, it would be fisticuffs. You cannot, no,
And it was a mall cop, huh?
A mall cop.
Squirrel chaser.
You can take it off or you can leave the mall. Those are your options right now, he said.
Well, I wonder what shirt would not have offended the mall cop. In other words, now you got me thinking. What? I don't know.
The guard added, we've had guests come up saying that they've been offended by your shirt. Take the shirt off and you can go shopping.
Well, would that have resulted in him not wearing a shirt at all?
I was at a concert 100 years ago, Ozfest at the Dome, and Marilyn Manson was playing, and his fans, I think it was Marilyn Manson, were all wearing T-shirts that said F Jesus.
Isn't that something?
I
That probably
wonder-
was fine.
I wonder if you could wear that in the mall.
I wouldn't walk across the street to see Marilyn Manson.
I'm not sure Kenny knew he was there either.
I don't think
At the time.
I don't think my feet were actually touching the ground.
A little UFO note because
good.
I
It's Monday.
I predict that, and it's not on tonight.
Oh,
The World's Strangest Mysteries are on. I'm sure that'll be Holcomb. Not the serious stuff we're used to, you and me, Kenny.
It's television journalism is what
You know,
it
in
is.
Wyoming, I see a lot of stuff in the night sky
Okay.
because it's clear. There's not a lot of light
throw you
pollution.
some Aurora Borealis.
John Bauman notes, all hail his exalted mayor.
Hail
Hell?
That wasn't
Really?
very good.
I
You
wasn't
forgot
sure
to
about it.
you,
Blue Monday.
you forgot to mention the third option for the release of information regarding UFOs. You mentioned number one, the USA is going to announce we are doing it, trying to cover it up. No, what I announced is this is going to be a breakout year for UFO information.
Yeah.
I just think
Okay.
it'll enter the mainstream. Number two, it's beyond our technology, and we don't know what we're coming on. Yep. And three, a country other than the USA has developed it, and we're still baffled by its existence. That could be. That could be. But I'm going with visitors from another galaxy.
I'm getting a little worried about what the general populace is going to do when they find out that they're here and amongst us. What if the government admits it and says, yeah, they've been here all along. We track them on a daily basis. Unfortunately, they can disguise themselves, and we can't tell who's an alien and who's
I
not.
can tell you how we'll react.
I think people will stop paying their mortgage. I think the country will fall. The world will fall apart.
I can help you understand that. If that becomes the case, the NFL will have games every night of the week to further sedate us.
I'm glad you're finally on my side. I've been saying for years, all the NFL is
It's a giant pill.
It's a show business.
We've said that for ages.
It's a reality show.
Yeah.
It's show business. I'd rather watch Vern Gagne's All-Star Wrestling.
May I give you some grandfatherly wisdom about yesterday's game? I had
Matthew,
to calm down a lot of people yesterday.
pay attention,
who,
Matthew.
Who pretended to be excited
Okay.
and disappointed. And I say pretended because they're just fine. After I gave them my grandfatherly wisdom. When you watch this Viking season, which was admittedly very fun, they won 11 one-score games. And ironically, they lost a one-score game yesterday. But they won 11 one-score games, and when they were defeated handily.
Mm-hmm.
Going into that game yesterday, there was only one attitude to have. A loss was just as likely as a win. That's my take on it. A loss was just as likely as a win.
It's like the lottery. They had a 50-50 shot.
Really, a loss was just as likely as a victory, and it should not have been a surprise. Especially that last play, which was
Do you
kind of
guys
symbolic of the
see
season.
what really worries me about your attitude? You're kind of coming over to my side. You're saying so the score at the end of the game wasn't predetermined beforehand.
No, I'm
That's
not,
what I'm saying.
I'm not saying.
I'm saying the outcome was
Like the,
already decided.
Commissioner's weekend.
Well, it's Jesse wins this week.
Remember what Royce said on Friday?
The Crusher wins next week.
Then we're building
Giants
some.
29, Vikings 24. He was pretty damn close.
He did say that.
He was pretty damn close.
So the Mikulski text timeline here. Watch how fast this turns. Steve Mikulski at 3:09 p.m. Emoji, skull, skull, skull. Uncle Paul, I hear ya, skull. Maria, this is at 3:32. I'm not feeling very optimistic. Matthew Mikulski.
How long is this?
WTF, yes you are. Maria Anderson, I know. Steve Mikulski at 3:34 sends a
almost
look
over.
of worry. Yes. I say destiny. Steve Mikulski, everyone doubted us. Miami versus Buffalo is crazy. Fun game. Skull.
You're done now.
Skull, bitches.
Let it play out.
There's still Maria emphasized skull, bitches. Steve Mikulski at 4:18, dumb play. Maria Anderson, defense looks terrible. Steve Mikulski, stop running the ball at 4:57. And then we just quit talking to each other for the rest of the night.
What I like is you go to the Twitter and
We're all sedated.
Reavers over here is offering professional advice to the coaches
Which
on
was really an asinine.
which
on your
plays
part.
are going to
Well,
work.
that
and
was
which-
really the wrong play to call on first down.
You know who
What
agreed
a
with
bunch
me?
of BS that was.
You know who agreed with me?
Coach Bud Grant. Who?
Most of ESPN. The talking heads.
it's,
That was a stupid play call. In a playoff game, you don't call. I didn't care.
Are you talking about the trick play?
Yes, that was
it's fun.
idiotic.
They were as likely to lose as they were to win.
Did you at one point,
My God.
Chris? Did you at one point say something about? Did he not know it was fourth down?
I'm convinced Kirk Cousins did not know it was fourth down at the end of the game.
When he threw the pass to
Otherwise,
McIntosh
why do
or
you
whatever
throw a
his name is.
3-yard
Doesn't he have
pass?
the coaches in his head?
Hey,
But
let's save this for other shows.
But they're not on that show.
Yes.
Forget it.
One other thing, if I may add,
Yeah,
my favorite,
sure.
my,
Go
my
ahead.
favorite
Packers
my
fan
fav-
here.
My favorite part was on Saturday after the Niners won, going to Twitter and seeing all the Viking fans saying, how can we beat the Niners? Well, don't forget.
You know
gotta
who
play
has
the
fun with
Giants
this?
tomorrow?
Tim Christopher.
Oh, yes.
He
Oh, yeah.
tweeted out a picture of a Viking ship on fire and sinking.
That's our guy.
Love it.
He has more fun with this. Sanibel Jim had fun with it. He's a Green Bay guy. The Green Bay people are just relishing this.
But haven't they been out
What?
for a couple of weeks?
yeah, but they say
So what?
they hate the Packers so much they don't want the Vince Lombardi trophy. That meaning the Vikings. Isn't that the trophy that goes to the NFC champion?
Yes.
It goes to actually the Super Bowl champ.
Well,
Bowl
whatever. Mr. FYI.
Well, I guess you're from Minnesota. You wouldn't know what the Super Bowl championship.
Oh, see?
Oh,
A
bam.
bunch of B as in B, S as in
John,
S.
John, the
Thank
guy,
you.
the big Vikings fan at the convenience store this morning, all he could do was bitch about the Packers fans. I'm like, what the hell? What are you talking about?
I didn't put the crying blondes on Twitter and Facebook. I usually do
They
that.
made
on this
it. They
occasion,
made it
but
to
I-
Twitter yesterday.
Did they? I
Yep.
didn't see it.
Yep.
I didn't add it. So.
NFC Championship is the George Hallis Trophy.
I see. May I offer you a very, very explicit windmilling?
Okay.
Lawmakers, fishermen, and marine activists, I said a marine activist, marine activists are calling for an investigation into whether offshore wind projects are killing whales after a recent spate of dead whales washed up on the New Jersey-New York coastline. I'm pro whale. Let's not be killing the whales. Sea Freeze Fisheries Liaison Megan Lapp told Fox News that the Biden administration's initiative to build wind farms to combat climate change could be threatening the lives of whales as an increasing number have turned up dead in various states. I can't authoritatively say that all the whales that are washing up are because of offshore wind farms, but what I can tell you is that 7 whales that washed up in New Jersey in the past month have all washed up during intense geotechnical surveying of wind farm leases off New Jersey, she said. On the East Coast, there has been an unusual mortality event for humpback whales from 2016 until now. The only thing that has changed in the ocean in that time is the fact that there have been offshore wind surveys occurring from 2015 until now. Now, magically, there are a bunch of dead humpback whales washing up on the beach. Representative Jeff Van Drew, Republican New Jersey, earlier Friday called for an investigation to determine whether the survey work for building offshore wind turbines is causing harm to marine life, demanding the cessation of all offshore wind activity until the investigation is conducted. Well, the only thing that changed in the ocean is surveying activities, and that's been going on. They're essentially carpet bombing the ocean with intense sound.
Yeah,
So that explains the geotechnical surveying method.
I had to look it up. It's testing the physical properties of the soil to provide recommendations for foundation requirements, excavation, stability, drainage, and buried concrete
And these
design.
same fruitcakes who think wind is the answer would be pro-whale.
So
Right.
This is windmilling.
Right.
I've never seen
Literally.
one.
Yeah.
So they just have big concrete pedestals
They must.
that are embedded in the ocean floor, and
They
then
must.
the blades are
Yeah.
above the water.
Of course the blades are above the water. Otherwise, it would be a propeller.
It'd be water power technology.
You know what? That is sad, man. We're told that we're evil people and our lifestyle is killing whales and what have you. And here come these nutcases that think wind farms are the answer, and they're killing the whales. I buy the fact that it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. Nothing's changed in the ocean, except in 2015, you started bombarding the ocean floor with intense sound mechanisms to determine where you could put a concrete basin for a windmill post or pole or staff or whatever you want to call it. And now the whales are dying.
Along the same lines. When was I here last? 2 weeks ago?
I don't know.
It was right after a snowstorm.
I don't know.
Oh, you showed me the picture.
All of the, what are they?
Solar panels.
It's all of the solar panels in St. Cloud and all
They
that
were
area.
bent over weeping like a willow tree.
They all had snow on
Yeah.
Can't do anything.
Whoops.
In the meantime, were able to turn on your light, weren't you? At
Yeah,
home?
yeah. Good old
Some
nuclear.
evil electric company was providing some power.
Yeah.
That's a shame. Of course, the Biden administration is, well,
Yeah.
they're the Biden administration.
Yep.
I guess he was really laying it on thick at his MLK celebration.
I have some audio from that.
Was it a
if you'd like
breakfast?
it.
I don't know what he went to, but turns out he's virtually a black guy who has spent his entire life in black churches. And here's Christopher Reavers.
Joe Biden. Joe had a microphone in his hands, and Andrea Waters King is the
That
wife.
would be MLK's wife?
MLK's son's
wife, yeah.
So his daughter-in-law.
Sure.
And it was also today's her birthday.
Wonderful.
And the
Her
president.
birthday's on Blue Monday.
Right. The president took to that microphone to wish her happy birthday.
Okay.
Well, look, my wife has a rule in her family. When somebody's birthday, you sing happy birthday. You ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Alan. Happy birthday to you.
There it is. No. I could see
What's her name? What's her real name?
Lagla.
Andrea.
That didn't happen. That's not real.
I want a pat on the back because whatever you were just talking about,
Yeah.
I was listening to that over and over again.
I want to hear it again.
Withholding my laughter.
Now, keep in mind her name is
Andrea Waters King.
Andrea Waters King. Strike it up.
The wife of Martin Luther King III.
Hit it, Joe.
Well, look, my wife has a rule in her family.
Yep.
When somebody's birthday, you sing happy birthday. You ready?
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Going strong.
Happy birthday, dear Alan. Happy birthday to you.
My God.
Oh, give him the name.
is
Somebody
delicious.
run up there with the name for the guy.
Can you just see the people in the back just going, oh God, he's really going to do it. He's
Yeah.
really going to do it. Mr. President, third time's a charm.
No.
Third time's a
Well,
charm.
look, my wife has a rule in her
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
When somebody's birthday, you sing happy birthday. You ready?
Absolutely.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Alan. Happy birthday to you.
He doesn't even.
Do you have any of our president's remarks telling us that he's virtually an African American? That he went to a church every day and was marched in Selma and he just makes stuff up.
I thought that was Santos.
He just makes it up. Oh, Santos! Did you see the Santos playing at Woodstock? It was Jimi Hendrix. Santos playing at Woodstock.
Is this it?
Happy birthday.
No, that's
dear
not it. That's not it.
Alan.
That's enough.
It's
Too
never
much of a
enough.
good thing is a good thing.
All right, let me see if I can find the president.
Why don't we take a break and return with our very own newsman joining us now on Mondays, much to my pleasure,
Bring it down.
John Heidt.
The Earth is not your mother. The Joe Souchere Show.
Dumped a whole jug of seafoam into the crankcase on, what was that, Friday? In the plow truck. Ran her hard for about 100 miles, changed the oil, cleans everything up on the inside. You know where I learned that little trick?
I don't.
Seafoamworks.com, an excellent website. And you can find all sorts of little secrets in there, how to revive motors, how to save motors, how to preserve gas. That's what Seafoam does for us. And everything it does for our small engines, it does for the big ones, too. I don't care if you're driving a combine or a Corvette. It's a great preventive medicine, and it's great for reviving engines and even trannies with the Seafoam Tranny Tune. You can check out that website, see some cool videos, learn a few tricks, seafoamworks.com. You can buy this stuff everywhere. It's a local company with a global reach and a true miracle in a world of bad gas. It's Seafoam.
Here's John Heidt.
Thank you, Joe. Twin Cities leaders are highlighting efforts this week to remove snow that's still causing issues.
Too
for
late.
residents.
The rain is screwing that up.
Right.
And commuters. All of this according to press releases from the city of Minneapolis and the city of St. Paul. If you live in the areas or plan to be in the Twin Cities for any amount of times this week, review the parking instructions. Minneapolis is urging residents to work with their neighbors to move vehicles from areas that haven't been plowed since the most recent snow event. Minneapolis has already declared one-sided parking in some areas so first responders can move through during emergencies, and the city says leaders will continue to do so as needed. Minneapolis says its public works employees have plowed at least 3 times recently and are working to make travel easier on narrow residential streets. If you have any concerns about specific streets or sidewalks, you are asked to report those by calling 311. In St. Paul, the rules are more specific. From 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Starting tomorrow through Friday, cars cannot park on designated sides of residential streets. The city says this week's efforts are not for an active snow emergency, but people who do not move cars, according to the plowing alert instructions, could be ticketed or towed. Our old buddy, Sean Kershaw, St. Paul's Public Works Director, says everyone doing their part will allow our crews to plow to the curb and help us hold off on the need for a future one-sided parking ban. If you'd like to get a breakdown of what's going to happen on St. Paul streets this week, you can go to our friends at Eyewitness News. They have all the details in a news story at kstp.com.
I'm not going to walk today.
Too slippery?
I walked Saturday and Sunday, put in some good miles because I had my yak tracks on. And
Good Lord.
I was at an establishment Saturday with the yak tracks on.
Okay.
And
But that was cute.
You got to be careful when you're inside a building with them on. And I asked a waitress where the men's room was, and she pointed, and I went and I entered the women's room.
Whoa.
And when I
Looking like
realized that, I put on the brakes, but I had the yak tracks on, and to keep from falling, I had to grab a stall. And then a woman said, "Are you all right, sir?" And I said, "Yeah, I got yak tracks on." I slipped, and I had to quickly get out of there, but I had to walk funny because of the yak tracks, and they thought, I wonder if we should call someone.
I'm pretty sure they probably
Where's your
did.
helmet, sir? Do you have your helmet with you? Did you take your helmet off?
And Friday, I tried to walk without yak tracks, and I didn't make it up onto the sidewalk. After I got out of my car, I crossed the street and tried to climb over the hump that the resident didn't shovel to get to the street, and I went down right there. And I thought, nope, no yak tracks, no walkie.
Are you telling your doctor these stories? I sure hope so.
Yeah. And let me tell you something. With yak tracks, not a problem.
Several questions. Chief among them, you said you got out of your car before you started to walk.
No, when I got out of the car and then walked, was going to just cross the street to access a sidewalk.
He drives to where he walks.
Yeah, I drive to where I walk.
That makes a lot of sense. Secondly, when you walked into the women's room, did you look around and say, I identify as a woman?
I thought of that. I didn't think of that at the time. But if I would have gotten in trouble, I wonder if that'd get you out of trouble.
Oh, sure.
See, he's past that age, Reavers. If the three of us, me,
talking about being a third person,
me, Rookie, or you, or even maybe John, for that matter, if we walked into a ladies' restroom, there'd be screaming and yelling. But with him, are you
sad.
okay,
It's
sir?
sort of sad.
Are you? Can I help you, sir?
Did you get lost?
Are you lost? Did you separate from the group?
Let me tell you something else.
Please do.
Which is right along with John's story about the snow removal.
I don't know if you should, Joe.
No, the more progressives live in a neighborhood, the lousier the snow removal will be.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
Yeah.
Just
I have a question
That's
about
a proven
yak tracks.
fact.
myself. Yak tracks, I mean, I know what they are, but
Yeah.
are they easily removable and easy to put on?
I
or
leave
can
them
you-
on one pair of shoes dedicated for the purpose. But yeah, they're not that difficult.
Yeah,
Well, if you're in a bar, can you not just pull them off and
you
walk
can.
around?
Yes,
Right.
yes, you can.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got that cleared up.
Yeah.
The Regent Candidate Advisory Council has recommended candidacies to fill 4 upcoming vacancies on the University of Minnesota Board of Regents, and current chair Ken Powell did not make the list, even as the incumbent seeks his second 6-year term on the board. The RCAC is a 24-member citizens board that reviews and recommends qualified candidates to state lawmakers, who then vote for those candidates during the legislative session. RCAC member Dan Walter told 5 Eyewitness News a series of controversies centering on top administrators, including President Joan Gable, made him vote against Powell this year, despite supporting the former General Mills CEO when he first ran 6 years ago. During the interview last week, Powell defended McMillan and Gable, saying their potential conflicts of interest had been vetted and approved by independent groups. He added he had no problem with their respective situations. Even though Powell was not recommended for re-election, he can still run and be approved by lawmakers and retain the seat on the Board of Regents. A vote by lawmakers is expected sometime in March. St. Paul Housing and Redevelopment Authority has unanimously voted to repurpose the old Hams Brewery site east of the downtown area. J.B. Vang, a local developer, has a plan that calls for 259 family-friendly affordable housing units, 56,000 square feet of commercial space, including a marketplace inside the former brewhouse, as well as a green space with a connecting path to Swede Hollow Park. That site is located on Minnehaha Avenue East between Payne Avenue and Arcade Street. The housing portion of the project is expected to cost more than $100 million. As a minority-owned developer in St. Paul, Vang says he wants to give area businesses more opportunities to build equity and generational wealth.
That's the part of St. Paul you go to get stabbed, right?
Pretty much.
It used to be a very vibrant part of the city, and now it has changed quite a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that building? Is this a bad idea?
To turn them into what?
Apartments, affordable housing, Johnny. What else?
Artist lofts.
Yeah,
Well, we've already done that to the Schmidt Brewery. Why should artists get any benefits from the
Because they're
public?
better than us.
Oh, I don't care for what they do to it.
God, you guys are bitter. Yeah. The Minnesota State Fair Board of Managers, State Fair's coming, has approved an increase in regular gate admission tickets again. According to a news release from the Minnesota State Fair, regular gate admission for adults will now be $18.
I think that I saw this story, John, and I don't know what you feel about it, but I feel that's really high.
Yeah, well, what if you have to take a family?
Well, kids are what, $15 now?
The tickets for 13 to 64 are $18. Tickets
13?
Yeah, 13 to 64. If you're between 5 and 12, it's $6.
How much?
Under 4 still
You
are
broke
free.
up.
You
John.
broke up, John. What? No, for
Oh,
the
I'm
youth.
sorry. $16 for ages 5 through 12.
Good Lord! Now Hammer leaves and the place falls apart.
Well, but they're going to cite the fact that attendance continues to increase. But I know people that won't go now because of how expensive
And what
it
gets
is.
my goat is that every soul on the grounds pays to get in. There's no such thing as workers getting in for free.
I didn't know that.
They all pay.
Everybody pays.
Yep.
Really?
Well, look at us. We all have to buy tickets to get in
That's
now.
true. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Brian, that's pretty pricey because you're going there to spend money.
Right. And it's
Wow.
not cheap once you get inside the fair either.
No, what's a
Exactly,
beer cost these days?
What was it?
$8-10?
Yeah, 10.
Something like
10,
that?
Between 10 and 15, depending
Gee
on what you
whiz.
get.
You can still get the pre-fair discount tickets.
Yeah.
If you get them in advance, those tickets are $14 for adults, but they will rise to $15 on February 1st.
So
those are
between
also
now and
free.
February 1st, can you buy tickets to this summer's fair for $14?
That is correct, sir. Yes.
Boy, I'm going to advise people.
And don't forget about the parking, John.
Well, that was my next sentence. Thank you, Kenny. On-site parking for cars and trucks will be $20. For motorcycles, $15. So you could be with a big family, $150 in before you walk in the gate.
So that must mean if you're on a bicycle, it's $10, right? Oh, no, of course not. No.
Gee whiz, that sounds like a lot of money.
Gee whiz, you're right.
by the way, Jerry's still in charge, Joe. So Minnesota State Fair CEO Jerry Hammer cited a number of rising costs as the reason for the ticket price increase, including fare production, public safety, facilities upkeep, and other services like the free park and ride system. The fair this year, if you're wondering, runs August 24th through September.
Somebody
4th.
on Jupiter Island, Rook, is walking to the mailbox and
opening it up.
big check.
Yep.
John, I'm glad you said that because when Joe said that earlier, I thought, did I miss something? Did Jerry retire?
No,
He
Jerry's.
did. He did announce
he
his
will.
retirement.
Oh,
Yeah, this
But
year.
he's on board.
oh, okay, okay.
You
Gotcha.
two are pretty tight, aren't you?
Yeah.
Do you hold hands when you talk?
Mm-hmm.
There
I
are
got
no-
towed the other night.
You got
The
towed.
CP's car got towed.
Really?
Really?
Snow emergency?
Well, we're at a restaurant, and she took the chance parking where she shouldn't have. It's her fault. It's our fault. It said...
Oh, it's our fault, was it?
Well, it's not her fault.
Attaboy, Joe.
I signed up to park there, and
So it's her fault. Well, it's actually,
No, it's actually
my
our
fault.
but I absolutely discovered a scam. There's not a doubt in my mind it's a scam because there's a small market attached to this parking lot, and it said these spots are for the market only, and there was nobody there, and we were going to go to an adjacent restaurant. And so we parked there and came out. Sure enough, the car was gone. So I went in the market. It was as though they knew instantly I was the one who was missing a car.
Mm-hmm.
And what I presume to be the wife of the market owner walked us outside and pointed to a phone number. And we had to call the phone number. And he said he instantly, I told him my name. He didn't know who I was, but he instantly named the type of car.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah. And I said, where are you? And it was a private place down off Shepherd Road on Randolph.
Yeah.
And I said, how much? He said, $325 cash. And I said, credit card? No, cash only.
Yep.
And the couple we were with hadn't departed yet, so they gave us a ride down there. The car was inside, kept nice and warm. And before I could give him the $325, I had to have proof of ownership. I said, well, that's in the glove box. So I had to get the keys and unlock the car and get out the thing, and that was fine with him. I gave him the $325, and off we went. But now I know how it works. Mrs. Kravitz is sitting in an apartment above the store.
Yep.
And she looks,
Yep.
and she waits 15 minutes. You get 15 minutes to park there illegally, apparently. And then she calls downstairs. He calls this guy. The guy was there in 10 minutes.
Yep.
Took the car away, and I bet Mrs. Kravitz gets a taste.
Little kickback?
The market owner gets a taste,
Yep.
and the tow truck guy gets a taste.
Absolutely.
They each get a hunt.
It's not a bad part-time gig.
It's a hell of a gig.
Yeah.
The guy said when I called him, he said, "Oh yeah, I was just there, just got yours." I said, "Yeah, where are you?"
Oh, what, as a what? Lending an olive
And
branch or somehow?
we were completely in the wrong. So there was no one to get mad at except they're running a scam. I
Yeah,
got
they
news
are.
for you. They're running a scam.
And you know what? Yeah, what you should do is you should do a double stakeout when somebody parks there. Say, "Give me $100 right now and move your car. I'm going to save you $325."
Well, the other thing I wanted to do was go there and hopefully not be seen instantly by Mrs. Kravitz, kind of slink down in the seat. And then when I see the tow truck coming, back up and move so the guy had a wasted trip.
Or could you have walked into the market, made a purchase,
Oh, I forgot the other part of
and then
this.
went and had dinner? Or excuse me, went and had supper.
No, I forgot the other part of this that tells me it was a scam. Conveniently enough, this market, which was a rundown POS market,
Yeah. Smells like
Don't
rat
hold
killer
back.
in there.
Don't hold back.
conveniently enough, had the ATM machine.
There.
There's your scam
And
proof
the,
right there.
And when you go to
There's
select,
your scam
when you
proof.
go to select amount, it was $325.
No,
That's your only option.
oddly enough, she can only get 200. I don't have a card for that. She does.
But oddly enough, on the three dirtiest buttons on the ATM were 3, 2, and 5.
Yeah, and so I had some money on me, and the guy that we were with, he had some money, so I ponied up the
It's
three
like times.
It's like buying a bag in the 70s. wasn't it?
So we all-
I got 50. I got 75.
So we put together the 325 and went down there. And then it was an adventure finding the place. Had to call him twice to be guided in. You couldn't see it. It was dark. And It's a scam. Mrs. Kravitz got a taste.
You've really let us in today.
The guy got a taste, and the tow truck guy got a taste. I'm convinced.
At any point, did you say the rookie sent me?
No.
Oh, you probably could have got a little discount there.
Yeah, this car's over here too.
You didn't give him the old, do you know who I am?
No, you got
I'm
it.
gonna
That
write
first thing
about
out of your
you,
mouth.
that you're going to be in my column.
No, there's no denying we flaunted the sign.
Yeah.
National and international news, there are no visitor logs for President Biden's home in Wilmington, Delaware, according to the White House counsel's office this morning. Republicans on Capitol Hill demanding the visitor logs this weekend after revelations that Biden's lawyers had discovered a stash of classified documents inside the home's garage. Well, it is common practice to keep comprehensive visitor logs at the White House. Biden's lawyers say no such record exists for his home in Delaware. Republicans on Capitol Hill demanded the visitor logs following revelations that lawyers had discovered that stash. Special counsel had been appointed to look into the documents. Former President Donald Trump also being investigated by a separate special counsel for having over 300 classified documents in his possession.
I will tell you this, I had mussels. And the way they were prepared made it, and I'll tell you later where it was. It was hands down the best meal I've ever had in my life.
You can attack a mussel. I've seen you do it.
But the way they prepared it with sausage and bacon and
It comes in a shell, doesn't it?
yeah, but the shells are open.
He's a champion
I
mussler.
know how to eat mussels.
He knows what he's doing.
It was the best meal I've ever
That's
had.
a saltwater thing?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
You don't eat the little clams you get out of Minnetonka.
Officials are looking into a close call at a New York airport Friday night between a plane that was crossing a runway and another that was preparing for takeoff. The air controller said, and this is an auto recording, bleep. I think the word we can figure out what that is.
That's a bad sign when the pilot's saying bleep.
That's an air traffic controller, actually.
Same thing.
Said it, and then he said, Delta 1943, cancel takeoff clearance, cancel takeoff clearance. He basically yelled that when he noticed another plane operated by American Airlines was crossing right in front.
The Delta guy hit the binders hard.
The Delta Airlines departing Boeing 737 came to a safe stop on the John F. Kennedy International Airport runway as the other one crossed in front. Brian Healy was a passenger on the Delta flight. He said there was an abrupt jerk of the plane and everyone was thrust forward from the waist. There was an audible reaction when the brakes happened, like a gasp. Then there was total silence on the plane for a couple of seconds.
Waiting to see if they're going to be hit.
Healy said it wasn't until he was scrolling on Twitter the next day he realized the gravity of what could have happened on the runway. John Cox is a retired pilot and professor of aviation safety at the University of Southern California. He said he thought the controller, quote, made a good call to reject that takeoff.
Oh, really?
Well, who was at fault here? Was it the Delta or the
Department of
American?
No Bleep Sherlock.
The Delta plane stopped about 1,000 feet. 1,000 feet from where the American Airlines plane had crossed from an adjacent taxiway, according to an FAA statement.
So I wonder who's at fault. The tower?
Yeah, it's not noted
American.
in any of the story.
tower?
You can't cross a live runway.
Well, no, but,
And there's
but the pilot
lights.
was presumably taking his orders from the tower.
Yeah, no, it would be ground control, wouldn't it?
To Major
That
Tom.
plane,
Major
that
Tom.
plane lands. American
you.
plane lands, and then
Listen to Mr. Airport here.
No,
when are you
I'm-
going to get your wings, man?
I'm going to get my wings, man.
You're going to get your way.
But they can't cross a live.
Unless they're told. So I'm saying, was it the tower's fault?
Well, they would have a plan. Once the American plane landed, he would have to go to L26 to get to
Right.
the gate.
Right.
And if you're the Delta plane, you've already been given clearance to take off, so nobody should be
You're
on that
feeding
runway.
it the onions at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know.
They
what?
Full steam.
That's why you had to hit the brakes.
Shovel in
very
the
hard.
coal. What,
The
why
Italian-
is that funny?
No, nothing. I'll explain later.
That's feeding the geese.
Yeah, that's
Onions are a different deal. Yeah,
That's different.
Nobody
Yeah.
wants that.
Whole different deal. Chris.
Nobody wants
Got
that.
it.
It was an internal combustion reference.
Gotcha.
Yes.
The Italian police on Monday arrested perhaps the country's most wanted fugitive, Matteo Messina Denaro,
Oh, yeah.
a mafia boss. Now I can't say boss, who had eluded the authorities for 3 decades and was convicted in absentia of murder and other crimes. 60-year-old Messina Denaro was arrested in a hospital in Palermo in his native Sicily, where he was undergoing treatment. Italian Prime Minister Giorgio Meloni congratulated the police and prosecutors for the arrest of what he called the most significant representative of mafia syndicates. Denaro was considered the heir to Salvatore Riina, the boss of bosses, who was responsible for a series of brutal killings of Italian prosecutors and police officers in the 1990s. Riina was captured in 1993. He died in 2017 after spending the rest of his life in prison. Messina Denaro is believed to have maintained power even while in hiding.
John, when you were a kid, did you get special language help?
No,
for O's, for the pronunciation of O's and
like sorry,
bombs and boss and bus and B words.
Absentia.
Did you have help with B words?
I didn't.
Okay.
Call you a B word.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Lawmakers in the Missouri House of Representatives must be very bored. They took time in the last couple of days to adopt a stricter dress code for women as part of a new rules package. Now requires the women to cover their shoulders by wearing a jacket, like a blazer, cardigan, or knit blazer. The addition, which was proposed by Republican State Representative Ann Kelly, sparked outrage from some Democrats who said the change was sexist because the dress code for men was not altered.
Wait, this isn't in Iran? This is in our country?
No, this is in Missouri. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's like Iran.
Yeah, dirty old Missouri.
Dirty old Missouri. The dress code amendment
Now
was
Wyoming,
passed.
we don't have this trouble.
The dress code amendment was
Well, women come with a bear slung over their shoulder. They just killed a bear.
killed. They just killed.
Killed a bear.
It was passed by voice vote, and the rules package was later adopted by the GOP-controlled legislature on a 105-51 vote, but now without pushback and debate from House Democrats. Democratic State Representative Ashley Ahn proclaimed from the House floor, "Do you know what it feels like to have a bunch of men in this room looking at your top, trying to determine if it's appropriate or not?" Republicans did alter the amendment
Reavers
once.
isn't paying any attention.
I'm actually
he's
looking
not.
for the president's audio because I found another piece of.
They did alter the amendment to include cardigans after Democratic State Representative Rachel Prouty pointed out, well, women can't really wear blazers if they're pregnant.
Can women even vote in that state?
No, not in Wyoming. The
Wait, what?
in Missouri.
Yeah,
in,
Missouri.
in Wyoming they can't. I bet a Democrat in Wyoming is a rock-ribbed, hardcore Republican compared to a Minnesota Democrat.
Yeah,
That's fair.
Yeah, yeah.
This is all I could find based upon your request earlier of the president.
Yeah.
And let's lay one thing to rest. I may be a practicing Catholic. We used to go to 7:30 Mass every morning in high school and then in college before I went to the black church. Not a joke. Andy knows this.
That's the only audio I could
He
find.
always says not a joke, as though everything in his life is a joke.
Not a joke.
The black church.
That's
No,
what
he didn't.
Isn't church?
That's what I thought.
Well, Baptist is black church.
Well,
Considered.
I know plenty of white Baptists. Don't give me
Well,
that
yeah,
BS.
but it's
Yeah, John.
okay. All right then. The price of postage is about to increase again as the U.S. Postal Service works to wrangle its cost of operations amid economic inflation. Prices for some postage stamps will go up about 4.2% on January 22nd. What all that means is the Forever stamp, which now costs 60 cents, will cost you 63 cents.
I'm paying 60 cents a stamp recently
are.
when I bought Forever.
Yep, and now you'll be paying 63
I
starting
better go
January
load up on some
22nd.
60 centers.
This will amount to the third increase for the non-expiring Forever stamp in the last year and a half, according to USPS data. In August 2021, the Forever stamp's price rose from 55 to 58 cents, then jumped again to 60 cents in July of last year. For metered 1-ounce letters, the price of stamps will rise from 57 to 60 cents. International letters will also go up. The price of postage for domestic postcards will go up from 44 to 48 cents. International postcards $1.40 to $1.45. The Postmaster General said in August service would require a rate increase as inflation was predicted to add over $1 billion to the USPS budget. USPS doesn't usually receive tax funding and relies on the sale of postage, products, and services to fund its operations, according to the department.
Man, I got to load up.
Gina Lollobrigida has died, one of the biggest stars of European cinema in the 1950s and 60s. She was 95 years old. Often described as the most beautiful woman in the world, her films included Beat the Devil, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Crossed Swords. She co-starred along with the likes of Humphrey Bogart, Frank Sinatra, Rock Hudson, Errol Flynn, and many more. Her career faded in the 1960s, and she moved into photography and politics. Nicknamed Lolola, she was one of the last surviving icons of the glory days of film. Bogart said she, quote, made Marilyn Monroe look like Shirley Temple.
Not her last few years, though. Ooh.
Movie mogul.
For God's sake,
Well, she's
Kenny,
95.
200 years old.
Looks like an old worn-out shingle.
Jesus. I love you, Kenny, but sometimes.
Come on, man.
Movie mogul Howard Hughes showered her with marriage proposals. Off camera, she enjoyed a feud with fellow Italian star Sophia Loren. I've lost my place because of Kenny. She died in a Rome clinic, her former lawyer, Giulio Santani, told Reuters news agency.
You're a good-looking gal.
Oh, she was gorgeous in her heyday.
Hey.
Is Sophia still with us?
I believe so.
Is she?
I believe so.
I'll look it up.
Sophia was also gorgeous in her heyday.
Boy.
Sophia Loren.
Those were days there weren't a lot of surgeries either, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Didn't she try out for Gilligan's Island?
I don't think so.
No,
She is 88 years old.
Sophia?
Yep. Born September 20th, 1934 in Rome, Italy.
She's still with us.
She is still with us, 88 years old.
Yeah.
And Dr. Dre is set to get a big payday for his collection of music income streams and assets. Dre has reportedly struck a deal with Shamrock Holdings and Universal Music Group in 2 separate transactions. The assets right now garner about $10 million annually, and the deals have been rumored to be in the works for several weeks, according to Variety. The final sale price likely to be $250 million to Dre.
Why do I think that's low, John? Doesn't that feel
Why
low?
not just keep taking in the $10 million a year?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems low to me, too. The assets are said to include artist royalties from Dre's 2 solo albums, his share of NWA artist royalties, producer royalties, and the writer's share of his song catalog, which he doesn't own the publishing to. Sources tell Billboard that the portion includes 75 to 90% of the package's revenue and is likely being acquired by Shamrock.
I think he just recently went through a divorce, so that might have something to do with it.
Oh, did he?
I think so.
Thank you, John.
Yes.
I just looked at the clock. Mother of Pete.
Who's Pete?
I don't know.
Who is Pete?
Who is Pete? Let's go.
You sure?
Yeah.
You don't want to talk food?
Nope.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and he feels fine. Joe Souchere.
Only because they come to us all the way from Marloth Park in Mpumalanga, South Africa, from the Traveling Lymans at worldwidewaftage.com. On this day in 1874,
MLK Day, Jan 16.
Wilmer Village was incorporated. Surveyed and mapped in 1869, the township was named for Leon Wilmer, a Belgian agent for European investors in the St. Paul and Pacific Railroad Company. Wilmer became a city in 1901.
KWLM, the big juggernaut.
And finally, on this day in 1958,
116.
the Winona Daily News announced that 36 chinchillas, along with feed, cages, and other supplies, were donated by a student and his father to the biology department at St. Mary's College to be used in research on improving the breed, whose fur is often made into expensive coats for women. That made this day in history.
Winona. Oh, that's Winona for you.
By donating, I think you mean the dad saying, get this
Get rid of
ass
these
out of here.
chinchillas. 36 chinchillas they brought to school and said, here, you take them.
And they all had to be euthanized.
We out of chinchillas.
We got a chinchillas.
You like a nice chinchilla, Joe?
Hey, tomorrow night we'll see you for the festivities, huh?
Right.
And if you're not there, you'll hear all about it on the next podcast.
Yes. And just so people are aware, tomorrow's podcast, live at the Hopkins Performing Arts Center, is not going to be posted until Wednesday morning.
Okay.
Just to let everyone know ahead of time.
So Wednesday really is a double day. People will get 2 podcasts.
The double show.
Yeah.
The double show?
Yeah.
How about if you want to find another show in its absence, you can go to PodMN on your smartphone. There's a whole library of podcasts that you might want to choose from. Choose wisely, please. Then head over to subscribe on YouTube, Garage Logic. You can subscribe to the show, and you will get a lot of fun videos, etc. And if you really want to be a super fan,
Such as in there?
such as,
And such, I'm sorry.
and such. That's what it is. Plus, The Garage Logic Town Council just kicks so much booty. Check it out. Tell all your friends about it. Go to garagelogic.com. Cha.
Kenny, you staying in town? Mind your own business.